Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and another Oscar predictions video. Today we are going to be predicting the director category and original screenplay and adapted screenplay. These are early predictions, which means I will probably get none of these right. At least, maybe. Who knows? We'll actually see.
We interrupt this programming to tell you that channel memberships are open. For $2 a month, you can get members-only video content, from reading your comments, special editorials, small awards season updates, and more. Other perks include weekly members-only live streams, exclusive emojis, badges, and even access to my members-only Discord server. You also get your name to appear in my videos as a special thanks for your support. With your help, we can conquer the Oscar space on YouTube and rule over all. Remember, Uncle Chris needs you.
I did make some last-minute changes, though, because initially, especially when you saw my previous video, I had Begonia winning Best Picture, and I initially had Yorgos Lanthimos winning Director. But then I found out something about Begonia that made me go, oh, wait, what? Because I was under the assumption that, like, Begonia was gonna be, like, a weird kind of, like, sci-fi space movie in a way where there's, like, you know, lots of big sci-fi sets. Basically, I thought it was gonna, like, stylistically be Poor Things in Space or something like that. But apparently that is not the case. From what I have heard, it is more contemporary than I thought. In fact, a lot more contemporary than I thought. And I was like, well, maybe there goes that idea. Because I feel like if Yorgos Lanthimos really went out and did something like that, I feel like maybe Begonia could have a stronger chance in Best Picture. I mean, now granted, I'm not saying contemporary films can't win Best Picture. I mean, hell, a lot of them have. But like for someone like Yorgos Lanthimos, who does like the big kind of spectacle stuff, like in a way, like, you know, The Favorite is sort of a spectacle, Poor Things is somewhat of a spectacle. That's apparently not what Begonia is looking to be. So I did drop it down because I was like, oh, but then again, we don't know what kind of movie this is, really. So I was kind of struggling, and fuck it, I'm going to go with Andrew Peterson for The Rivals of Mziah King. Now, you know, this, on paper, it does kind of make sense for a director win. You know, it is like a musical of sorts, but I don't know if it's a period piece or if it's not a period piece, but it seems to have like somewhat of a decent kind of production value to it. And I could maybe see that, especially considering this is, you know, going from very indie director with The Vast of Night, which if you've not seen The Vast of Night, you should absolutely watch it. But like that movie's so well made, and now that this film has a little bit of a bigger budget behind it, I'm like, all right, if this is a top 5 contender, then maybe, yeah, you know, Andrew Peterson could win Best Director. Mike Flanagan, I then have for The Life of Chuck, because I put Life of Chuck back winning Best Picture, because again, it's the only one I can think of right now that, like, makes any kind of sense. I mean, the fact that, you know, it won People's Choice at TIFF over Anora is pretty big. Even if this is coming out in the summer, sure. But, like, I don't know. This doesn't give me some of the same vibes that some other summer releases do. Like, if it does pull on the heartstrings, if people do really, really like this movie, if crowds really love it, you know, I could see this being a very strong contender. And already at CinemaCon, you know, footage was being shown of The Life of Chuck, and people were like, oh my god, this movie looks wonderful. And I'm just like, I think that hype is going to sustain itself. And maybe there's a chance that Mike Flanagan could win Best Director. I mean, who knows? I mean, especially since, you know, this decade has gone a lot more towards, like, the indie directors. So, perhaps. And I do have Begonia. I've already talked about that. Sentimental Value. I don't know if this is going to be an international contender. Because I don't know if it's going to be in another language or not. But I do want to get one in there, or I don't know. I have Sentimental Value in Best Picture right now, and that's another thing. If you have your Best Picture 10, like whatever your Best Picture 10 is, somewhere in your director lineup, you must make room for them. Because I kept telling everyone, hey, look, if you're going to put, A Complete Unknown in Best Picture, you better put James Mangold somewhere in the list for director. Even if it's not top 5, put him somewhere in the list. And then, sure enough, he actually got a director nomination. It's like, when you have like full on like 10 nominees for Best Picture, 5 of them will go into Best Director. I think we're kind of past the era of, directors getting in like, what was it, Pavel Pawlikowski for Cold War, or Thomas Vinterberg for Another Round, where they get in for director, but the film is not in for picture. It just feels like these days it's like when you lock it down to 10, the director lineup will match up with Best Picture. So I do want to try to do that. And plus, some of the others don't make as much sense to me, but I don't know. Luca Guadagnino for After the Hunt. I heard the description of this film from CinemaCon, and I don't know. Apparently it's about Julianne Moore talking with Ayo Edebiri's character, who's been sexually harassed by Andrew Garfield. I'm wondering how big of an Oscar player this is going to be, but look, I'll stick with it for now. But if this movie does not become a Best Picture thing, I'm done with Guadagnino. I'm done trying to predict him. No. And shockingly enough, you're probably wondering, you have Paul Thomas Anderson out. This, I feel like, might be what helps hinder Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, because people are saying it's his most commercial film yet. He's trying, like, this is not really, like, one of the more RT films that he makes. But I'm not gonna lie, I think that might hurt his chances. Because when a director mainly goes outside of their style, or like, to make it more broadly appealing instead of going for what, is like their true artiste vision, the director's branch these days doesn't really like that. They like the more artisan visions. And yeah, you could argue, well, what about Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer? Well, I mean, yeah, that was big and popular, but that's so clearly like a Christopher Nolan vision. But from what we're hearing about Paul Thomas Anderson, that this is like less than, like a lot, not as much Paul Thomas Anderson as Paul Thomas Anderson films go. Again, I feel like that might actually hurt the film. I think that might actually hurt his chances in director, because it could just be seen as the commercial player that the director's branch just doesn't really like. And especially since people are finally starting to come around that maybe One Battle After Another is not a top 5 contender for Best Picture. I think even if like Paul Thomas Anderson gets a lot of precursors, including DGA, I think he could be that big snub, because they always do that. There's always that big DGA snub, like not just DGA, but you know what I mean. There's always like that big snub that, it starts popping up in the precursors, and even if they get everything, like look at Edward Berger for Conclave. He got Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, DGA, and BAFTA. He got all that and still missed the Oscar lineup. And so, yeah, I'm kind of thinking maybe Paul Thomas Anderson just doesn't get nominated. And again, if this movie doesn't do well, the studio's not going to want to campaign it, so they'll probably just, like, give up on it. Noah Baumbach for Jay Kelly's also... That's one that I actually do want to consider having in. Because from what we're hearing about Jay Kelly, it's said to be very, very good. And people are saying Adam Sandler is like Oscar worthy in it, which, stay tuned for next week's acting predictions. But Noah Baumbach for Jay Kelly, there's honestly a good narrative for Noah Baumbach for this. If this movie is like as good as everyone says it is, then like maybe... just maybe Noah Baumbach could get in. And he could be considered overdue for a directing nomination. So that's not bad. Edward Berger for The Ballad of the Small Player. I'm not willing to go for it yet. I still don't know how strong The Ballad of the Small Player is going to be as an Oscar player, but I don't want to doubt an Edward Berger film right now, especially after me doubting Conclave. But I don't know if he's going to be nominated for this. But again, we'll have to see. Scott Cooper for Deliver Me From Nowhere. I am very curious about this. I'm wondering, but then again, like, we don't really get a lot of directors, nominated for music biopics. I mean, sure, James Mangold just did, but James Mangold had like a whole like career narrative behind him. Like he'd been making, studio movies for years, and people think, oh yeah, he's a very reliable, director for hire, and now it's his time. And plus, A Complete Unknown peaked at the right moment where it was getting nominated, like right up until Oscar nominations, it was getting nominations everywhere possible. So, I don't know if I want to just use A Complete Unknown as the example for Deliver Me From Nowhere. But again, if I have it in Best Picture, I want to keep it in the 10. And then James Cameron for Avatar, Fire and Ash. Again, I do feel like maybe he could get nominated at Critics' Choice. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to get nominated for the Golden Globe. I definitely don't think he's getting BAFTA, and probably not DGA. It would have to be a situation where, like, Avatar, Fire and Ash is, like, better than both movies. But then again, I don't know if that can always help because, look at Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 was better than Dune Part 1, and it very much underperformed in nominations. So, I'm not exactly sure. And then the one I always want to look out for, Richard Linklater for Nouvelle Vague. Because, again, I'm wondering how strong of a contender this could be. This is Richard Linklater going outside of the realm he usually goes in, but he's going in a more artistic route. He's not really going for, a more commercial kind of play, which is very fascinating to me. I do want to keep out for that. Catherine Bigelow for her untitled political thriller. Again, I want to keep my eyes out for that because, sure, Detroit didn't get in Best Picture, but that wasn't really due to the film's quality. I think that was more so voters just did not want to watch that movie because it looked way too brutal. So the fact that, if this movie is like a little bit more palatable in a way, then maybe she could get nominated. I mean, hell, she hasn't been nominated literally since, The Hurt Locker, so she kind of has that narrative going for her as well. And then Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein. I will say, I think I am bumping up Frankenstein a little bit, not in the top 10, but I guess the thing is, if Frankenstein's in Best Picture, Guillermo del Toro is going to be nominated for director. That's just, that's, I feel like as simple as that. He will come along with the film if this film was nominated, but again, I don't want to bite on a horror movie quite yet. Not when, we did just get The Substance, but Hereditary didn't do shit at the Oscars after Get Out made a big splash. So I want to basically Frankenstein, I want to wait till I see how the response is. Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme. Again, I still have my doubts about Marty Supreme. And even if it gets into Best Picture, I don't know if Josh Safdie would come along with it. I really don't know about that. John M. Chu for Wicked for Good. Again, I don't know. Even if Wicked for Good is in Best Picture, I still have a hard time believing John M. Chu is going to get nominated because the Academy does not really like big blockbusters in director, and he's already going to be, and if Wicked for Good is very, very good, he's going to have to compete with James Cameron, and I don't know. So it really is tough. But again, I just don't want to bite on Wicked right now because everything I've heard about the second act of Wicked is that it's mid. I don't want to do that right now. Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice. Now, this is another film, sort of like Guillermo del Toro, where if No Other Choice is in Best Picture, for a fact Park Chan-wook is going to get into Best Director. That would happen. But again, sort of like Frankenstein, knowing the plot of this film, I need to wait and see what are people saying about it. Is it going to be like, what was that film called? Decision to Leave. If it's not really Academy friendly in its genre, then I'm probably not gonna end up predicting him. But again, we'll have to see. Again, if No Other Choice is in Best Picture, I would have to put Park Chan-wook in director. Mona Fastvold for Ann Lee. I think I may have bumped this up a little bit because I will say, if Ann Lee is a big Oscar player, I could definitely see Mona Fastvold getting nominated. But again, I don't want to bite right now because Brady Corbet and Mona Fastvold have not really made any big Oscar thing before The Brutalist, and I don't know if this is going to be a second hit or no. So I'm not really willing to do that yet. Chloe Zhao for Hamnet. This all depends on if the film is in Best Picture, I feel. Well, granted, all these depend on if the film is in Best Picture. But I'm really looking out for if this film can actually be in Best Picture, because again, Chloe Zhao, I mean, she's only had Nomadland, and I just don't know like how much of a critical success that the film's gonna be. So I'm not exactly sure, even though from what I've heard, is it Jessie Buckley in this film? Yeah, it is Jessie Buckley. Like, if Jessie Buckley is as big of a contender as people say she is, then maybe it would really depend. I don't know. I guess again, it just depends on like how strong Hamnet is. So I'm not exactly sure. Oliver Azayas for The Wizard of the Kremlin. Again, this is a biopic on what's his name, Vladimir Putin, and it's very critical of him. And this is also one I'm very curious over, because is this film going to be so successful that the Academy recognizes it? I mean, the Academy does like biopics, but I don't know how many times they do biopics based on terrible people. But I don't know. But again, the book was really well acclaimed, but again, that doesn't always mean everything. I mean, the ome could still be bad, who knows. But right now, I do want to keep my eyes open for The Wizard of the Kremlin. I mean, there's a chance maybe it could be a thing. Hikari for Rental Family. Now, this one I did not have in the Best Picture list initially. And apparently this is about Brendan Fraser, or at least a character played by Brendan Fraser. And it says, a down-and-out actor living in Tokyo is hired as a token American guy for a Japanese rental family company, leading him to an unexpected journey of self-discovery through the roles he plays in other people's lives. Again, I'm not sure about this film. We'll have to see, but I don't know. Again, maybe I want to keep my eyes out for it a little bit. Wes Anderson for The Phoenician Scheme. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this film, when I was reading the plot synopsis, it seemed to have more of a singular plot that could drive the film more than some of Wes Anderson's previous films. And if this movie gets into Best Picture, I could see Wes Anderson getting a nomination for that, sure. But again, it just depends on how well received it is, because the last few, or at least the last couple Wes Anderson films have not really been that acclaimed, really. So, I mean they were okay, they got okay reviews. But Asteroid City and The French Dispatch, but I don't know, I want to wait for that. What was it? Benny Safdie for The Smashing Machine. I've heard very divisive things about this film, which, that's not good. So, I don't know. Ruben Östlund for The Entertainment System is Down. Oh my god. If this movie's coming out this year, then oh no. I might have to very much consider. I mean, even if it is coming out this year, I'm very curious as to how big of a splash it's going to make. But I'm scared, because if you know me, you know that I really did not like Triangle of Sadness. That movie's pretentious as hell, and I'm scared. This is one I did not have in the Best Picture race. I should have gone, even if I were to put it low on the list, I need to pay attention to Sinners, especially now, since people, there's been some reactions for Sinners, and they're saying it's really fucking good. All right, I want to keep my... Now, granted, it's still a weird film to try to nominate for Best Picture, because it's still about, vampires and stuff. So, I'm not exactly sure. I guess it really depends on, how strong the reviews are, and how strong is the box office. If it can nail both those things, and people are saying it's very poignant, then, maybe I want to put it up a little bit higher. But, again, we'll have to see. Ari Aster for Eddington. This definitely has to be a strong, Cannes breakout, which apparently it is going to Cannes. I think, the cinematographer confirmed. But if this movie's, again, if Eddington won the Palme d'Or, well then, yeah, of course, whatever is winning the Palme d'Or, I'm going to have to assume is very much in the running for Best Picture. Ryan Johnson for Wake Up Dead Man and Knives Out Mystery. Again, I'm only putting him in here just in case Wake Up Dead Man is the best reviewed Knives Out movie. or like it's the best received Knives Out movie. People are going, oh my god, this is the best one of the bunch. Maybe, but because like sure, Glass Onion didn't. Okay, like yeah, it got like I don't. It's hard to say whether or not Glass Onion fell off harder than the first film because like Glass Onion still got quite a few big precursors. So I'm not really sure about that. But again, I'm very curious as to the response for Wake Up Dead Man. But right now, I'm only going to put it in one category, which you'll see later on in this video. Spike Lee, highest to lowest. I mean, granted, it's Spike Lee. I do want to have him in there somewhere to look out, but I don't think this is going to be a thing. Oliver Hermanis for The History of Sound. Again, I don't know if this is going to be like a big Oscar thing, so Kaganoda for A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. I don't know about that. Bill Condon for Kiss of the Spider-Woman. I'm very curious about this, but I know Lionsgate is distributing this film. I don't know if they're going to put it in like fall festivals. Okay, well, granted, it's already been, it's already been released. No, it's gotten acquired. So I don't know what a studio pushing this in the fall festivals would do for it. But I don't know. But then again, Netflix did already have Emilia Perez when they put it in TIFF. So, all right. Yeah, you could argue that would make, yeah, sure. So I don't know. If Kiss of the Spider-Woman does very well in the fall fests, because the reviews are not bad. They're not incredible, but I don't know. I want to keep my eyes out a little bit for how well it's going to do in the fall fests. But again, it's just so weird that it premiered at Sundance. That's just very odd to me. And then at number 31, I have Terrence Malick for The Way of the Wind. But again, I don't know if a movie about Jesus is going to be like a big Oscars thing. So we'll have to see. Then we get original screenplay. All right. Right now, I will go with Jay Kelly winning because it does seem to have like the dialogue in there. Noah Baumbach has not really won before, so you could give him an Oscar for this. Whereas The Rivals of Amaziah King, and this is just a guess, I'm going to make an assumption this is going to be sort of like mainly a directing player, like the directing is what makes the movie work. But we'll have to see. After the Hunt, again, I have that because Best Picture. Same thing with Sentimental Value. And the weird thing is that's kind of it for Best Picture films, at least the current films that I have in Best Picture, because all the others are adapted. So, I'm very curious to see how this is all going to shape out. And right here, I'll have Noville Vague, because that is the closest to a Best Picture film I have right now. And again, I'm just very, very skeptical about Marty Supreme. So I don't know if this is the correct thing, but I don't know. I just have a bad feeling about Marty Supreme. It's like the $75 million or like the $70 million budget. It feels like they're overcompensating for this. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel right about Marty Supreme. The Phoenician scheme, again, I'm pretty sure, I don't know. Some of these you're going to wonder, wait, they're up this high in the list, but it's like, I could probably see some of these being, Writers Guild contenders, and the Phoenician scheme could probably do that as well. I mean, the French Dispatch got nominated for Writers Guild, so that's not impossible. Ann Lee, there's again, it really depends on how strong this film is. The untitled Catherine Bigelow political thriller. This is interesting. I'm really wondering if this is going to be a screenplay kind of film. But again, if it's strong enough in Best Picture, then maybe. But again, I don't know. It all depends, I guess. Sinners, I mean, again, we're hearing that it's very, very good. And again, I could absolutely see this, getting nominated at Writers Guild. I don't know if it's going to make it to the Oscars, but, Writers Guild, that I could see that happening. And right below that, we have Warfare, the new Alex Garland film. And again, I mean, hell, look at what happened with Civil War. Civil War got nominated for the Writers Guild Award for Original Screenplay. And this film has even better reviews. So I'm very curious about this. If this can once again be a big box office hit and stuff, but then again, I don't think it's going to be a big Oscars thing. But again, I could maybe see the Writers Guild going for it. Rental Family, again, I'm not exactly sure. I Love Boosters, that's the new Boots Riley film. I'm just not completely sure about that. I'm completely not sure about I Love Boosters. Maybe it's because I don't know that much about the film, but still. The Smashing Machine, I don't know. Maybe, okay, the Entertainment System is down. Maybe that should be higher on the list. I'm not going to lie. Because, like, I could probably see that getting in the Best Picture more than I would, you know, something like Sinners. But again, I'm not exactly sure if it's even coming out this year. We'll have to see. Blue Moon, again, that's a maybe, but I feel like we're only going to get, like, maybe one big Linklater push. If there is one, I think it would be Nouvelle Vague. Big Bold Beautiful Journey, Eddington, again, I do want to hold off on that until we get to Cannes and see how well it does here. Black Bag, you know, that recently came out. The reviews for that movie are very, very good. So, again, if it were, I don't know if it's Writers Guild eligible. I'm not completely sure. Hold on a second. All right, yep, it is Writers Guild covered. I mean, it's David Koepp, so why am I not surprised? So, yeah. I could maybe see Black Bag getting into Writers Guild as well. Let's see, what else? Late Fame, that's the new Willem Dafoe movie, you know, starring Willem Dafoe. I'm curious about that. Materialists, that's the new Celine Song film, but especially after seeing that trailer, I don't think that's going to be an Oscars thing at all. Again, Writers Guild, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know, so probably not. Anemone, that's the movie that's starring Daniel Day-Lewis, and it's also being, the screenplay is being written by Daniel Day-Lewis and his son, Ronan Day-Lewis. Again, I don't know, it's also being directed by Ronan Day-Lewis, and again, I don't know how much of a big star how much of a, you know, successful director Ronan Day-Lewis can be. I mean, again, if this is a big, like, breakout hit, then okay, maybe, but I don't know. Ella McKay, I think actually what's preventing me from putting Ella McKay that high is the release date, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it's coming out in September. That's not the greatest year for Oscars. I don't know, maybe I should have this up a little bit higher. It's James L. Brooks, but I don't know. You know, okay, maybe I should put it a little bit higher. Yeah, I'll do that later. But still, right, I don't know how big of an Oscar player Ella McKay is going to be. Although it is coming from 20th Century Studios, so who knows? Maybe it can actually happen. But I'm not, and it does have like a big cast. I mean, you got Emma Mackey, you got Woody Harrelson. I don't like Woody Harrelson though. But you still got Kumail Nanjiani, Io Adebari, Rebecca Hall, Julie Kavner, Albert Brooks, Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, there's a lot of names in this. So who knows? Who knows? What was it? Sorry, Baby. I don't think this is happening. I don't really think this is happening. Is this thing on? That's the new movie starring, directed by Bradley Cooper, but it's going to be more of a comedy, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Mother Mary, I mean, it's directed by the same guy who directed The Green Knight. Something about this gives me the wrong vibe where I'm like, I don't know if David Lowery, I don't know if he's gonna, like, I don't know if he's the kind of director that makes Oscar films. The Mastermind, Twinless, Alpha, I don't know, probably not. Yeah, so I don't know. And then finally, we get to Adapted Screenplay. Right now, if I want Life of Chuck to win Best Picture, I'm gonna say it wins Adapted Screenplay. I mean, again, you know, it still has the writer-director thing going on, although then again, you know, you look at, Conclave, that wasn't a writer-director, but still. Typically, they still go for those. Begonia, I have in there because it's kind of safe to put in there right now. The Ballad of a Small Player, One Battle After Another, and usually I would not. Usually I would try to squeeze in more Best Picture films. Like I would try to fill it up with Best Picture films. But the problem is that I really do feel like Wake Up Dead Man's going to get nominated for Adapted Screenplay, and even if it doesn't get in the Best Picture, it's going to get nominated for this category. Even though something like Deliver Me From Nowhere also makes sense. But I don't know. Even then, most, music biopic films don't get nominated for screenplay. But other than A Complete Unknown, but that's kind of like the, exception to the rule. Frankenstein, again, I'm really curious if this is a bigger Best Picture film than I'm thinking it is, but I don't want to do that right now. But again, if it does get into Best Picture, it's going to get nominated for screenplay. I'm only putting in Avatar Fire and Ash at number 8 because it's very early in the year. And while I do think it's getting the best picture, I mean, the previous 2 Avatar movies were not nominated for screenplay awards, so probably not. Hamnet, again, something like Avatar is a little bit more tried and true, whereas other things like Hamnet and stuff like Below, I'm just like, I don't have much of a track record to go off of. The Wizard of the Kremlin, if it is very, very well received, then perhaps, but I don't know. Even The Apprentice didn't get into original screenplay, which is weird. And that actually was Writers Guild eligible. So I don't know. Wicked for Good, even if this film is very high in Best Picture, I'm still not going to predict it for an adapted screenplay nomination because time and time again, what have I been saying? Stage adaptations they have a very hard path to screenplay nominations at the Oscars because usually they're just reciting everything word for word. And I was very right in predicting Wicked for Good would not be nominated for adapted screenplay at the Oscars. Because they did expand on the book a bit, but it's mainly in the pacing. The dialogue is still very much the same. And one could argue, well, Chicago got nominated for adapted screenplay, and that was because it won Best Picture. It's like, it was not because it won Best Picture. It's because it was doing something so completely different with the musical, genre, at least in terms of stage musicals, because it wasn't just like a very linear story. It switched perspectives from the real world to the music world and kept bouncing back and forth. Like, some people will go, well, that's an achievement in editing. Well, I'm like, well, what do you think had to be put into paper first? So it's like, you know, the fact that it was because of Chicago's decision to switch perspectives, something that had really never really been done in musical adaptations before. That's what got it a screenplay nomination, and even then it didn't win. So even if Wicked for Good is very high in Best Picture, and even if it somehow won Best Picture, I would not predict it to get nominated for adapted screenplay because I just don't know unless there's like some actual, like a bunch of actual new scenes, I'm not really willing to do that right now. Because again, the Academy just does not really like stage adaptations all that much. I like stage adaptations where they are following the source material too closely. Because again, even if we were to go outside of musicals, look at movies like The Tragedy of Macbeth, or The Whale, or Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. These stage shows were very close to the original text, in some cases word for word. And so because there's not much of an adaptation going on, the writers pretty much think, well, you're not really creating a lot of this on your own. It's mostly just hand-me-downs. So we're not going to nominate it. We're going to go for the more original thoughts and stuff. That's kind of what they do. So I'm not going to do Wicked for Good. No other choice. Again, if this isn't Best Picture, then it absolutely goes into adapted screenplay. I'm going to have to make a big snub here, but I will have to put it in. But I'm just kind of waiting to see how it performs at Cannes. If it premieres at Cannes, I don't know. Highest to lowest, I don't know. Maybe there's a chance it could get nominated for Writers Guild, but I have to wait. The History of Sound, I don't know. The Wedding Banquet, I am very certain this could... Actually, let me see if this is Writers Guild eligible. Oh, yep. The Wedding Banquet is a Writers Guild eligible film, or at least it's covered by the Writers Guild of America. So I could definitely see Wedding Banquet getting nominated there because they like comedies. But again, I don't think that's going to be like an Oscars thing. Man, I'm not gonna lie. I really want to see The Wedding Banquet. That movie looks adorable. I want to watch it so badly. Hedda, Mickey 17. Okay, like that is a film I'm very certain might, or I don't know about certain. It depends on how strong the competition at Writers Guild is, I guess. But like that's another one where I could definitely see it getting into Writers Guild, but it's not going to be like an Oscars thing, so not really. Die My Love, Train Dreams, Caught Stealing, I don't know. Kiss the Spider Woman, probably not. The Collaboration, I'm very like I forgot to mention this film, but it's like that movie is just like absolutely nowhere. I don't know where this film is. Like it's been trying to come out for like a couple years now, and it's like I don't know what's going on. And if it's taking this long for the movie to release, then it's probably not that good. And I'm kind of scared. So even though it's Anthony McCartan, it's like, I don't know about that though. The Memory Police, I think that's being written by Charlie Kaufman. I want to keep my eye out just because. The Lost Bus, I don't know. Superman, even if this doesn't get into Best Picture at the Oscars, which it probably, I'm definitely saying it won't. Writers Guild is not crazy because they will nominate superhero movies all the time, and James Gunn's been nominated before for Guardians of the Galaxy. So if Superman actually is very well received, then yeah, I could see it getting nominated at the Writers Guild Awards for adapted screenplay. But again, I don't know if it's going to happen at the Oscars. This would have to be a huge breakout hit. Like, this would have to be like Top Gun Maverick levels of acclaim and box office. Maybe not as much box office, but at least the acclaim. Although if it did make $1 billion and it also got like Top Gun Maverick reviews, well then, okay, yeah. But I'm not going to bet on that right now. The Way of the Wind, oh yeah, that's still the Jesus movie. Again, I don't know if it's gonna happen or not. I don't know. The Roses, apparently it's coming out in August, so, and looking at the poster from CinemaCon, it looks like just a comedy, even though it's directed by even though it's written by Tony McNamara, I'm not gonna do it quite yet, because, I don't know, it just looks way too much of a comedy, and it's coming out in August, so no. Long Day's Journey into Night, I've not heard anything about this film ever, like, for a couple years, so I'm just thinking, sort of like, the collaboration, I think it might be just dead in the water. And then Clara and the Sun, I don't know, like, it is directed and written by Taika Waititi, but, man, this movie does not, everything about this movie just sounds very generic, so I don't know. But yeah, kind of looking at this, it's like, I'm very curious as to what film I possibly could have missed. But still, guys, that will be my director and screenplay early Oscar predictions. Thank you all so much for watching. And also, I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your director, original screenplay, and adapted screenplay Oscar predictions, the early predictions? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and be sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, The Wedding Banquet will be snubbed across the board, and I could cry. I haven't seen it yet, but I want to.